In a poignant appeal blending faith, humanity, and policy critique, Florida's Catholic bishops have called for a temporary halt to immigration enforcement operations during the Christmas season. The plea, directed at President Donald Trump and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, underscores the growing tension between religious leaders and the administration's hardline stance on border security. As families across the nation prepare for holiday gatherings, the bishops argue that aggressive raids are sowing unnecessary fear and disrupting communities, even as the White House insists that enforcement must proceed without interruption. The appeal was spearheaded by Miami Archbishop Thomas Wenski, a longtime advocate for immigrant rights, and co-signed by 7 other members of the Florida Conference of Catholic Bishops. Released on Monday, the statement paints a picture of a border policy that has achieved its initial goals but now risks overreach, ensnaring hardworking individuals in a net intended for criminals. The border has been secured, Wenski wrote in the open letter. The initial work of identifying and removing dangerous criminals has been accomplished to a great degree. Over 500,000 people have been deported this year, and nearly 2 million more have voluntarily self-deported. These figures highlight the scale of the Trump administration's deportation efforts, which have ramped up significantly since the president's return to office in January 2025. Yet, Wenski contends that the current maximum enforcement approach is casting too wide a net. At this point, the maximum enforcement approach of treating irregular immigrants en masse means that now many of these arrest operations inevitably sweep up numbers of people who are not criminals, but just here to work. He continued. The Archbishop specifically referenced Alligator Alcatraz, a notorious immigration detention facility in the Florida Everglades, noting that a significant majority of those detained have no criminal background. This facility, often criticized for its harsh conditions and remote location, has become a symbol of the broader immigration crackdown. Wenski's letter delves into the human cost of these operations, describing how prolonged detentions, often lasting months, inflict great sorrow on families. A climate of fear and anxiety is infecting not only the irregular migrant, but also family members and neighbors who are legally in the country, he warned. In a direct call to action, the bishops requested a pause in apprehension and roundup activities during the Christmas season, framing it as a gesture of compassion. Such a pause would show a decent regard for the humanity of these families. Now is not the time to be callous toward the suffering caused by immigration enforcement. The White House, however, showed no signs of relenting. In a statement to the Associated Press, spokeswoman Abigail Jackson reaffirmed the administration's commitment to its immigration agenda. President Trump was elected based on his promise to the American people to deport criminal illegal aliens. And he's keeping that promise, she said. The response did not explicitly address the bishop's holiday-specific request, instead emphasizing continuity. Enforcement activities would remain business as usual. This stance aligns with Trump's campaign rhetoric, which prioritized border security and mass deportations as key pillars of his second term. Archbishop Thomas Wenski's involvement in immigration issues is far from new. As the leader of the Archdiocese of Miami, which serves a diverse population, including many immigrants from Latin America and the Caribbean, Wenski has consistently positioned himself as a defender of the vulnerable. In September, he participated in a high-profile panel at Georgetown University alongside other Catholic leaders, where they lambasted the Trump administration's policies for splitting up families, inciting fear, and upending church life. During that event, Wenski highlighted the economic contributions of undocumented immigrants, arguing that enforcement must be balanced with recognition of their value to society. If you ask people in agriculture, you ask in the service industry, you ask people in healthcare, you ask the people in the construction field, and they'll tell you that some of their best workers are immigrants, he said. Enforcement is always going to be part of any immigration policy, but we have to rationalize it and humanize it. Wenski's advocacy extends beyond words into action. He has actively supported the Knights on Bikes ministry, an initiative organized by the Knights of Columbus, a Catholic fraternal organization that focuses on the spiritual needs of migrants in detention. The program involves motorcycle rides to facilities like Alcatraz, where participants bring attention to the plight of detainees. Winsky recounted a personal experience praying the rosary outside the facility's walls in the sweltering Everglades heat, only to be granted permission days later to celebrate Mass inside. The fact that we invite these detainees to pray, even in this very dehumanizing situation, is a way of emphasizing and invoking their dignity, he reflected. This hands-on approach reflects a broader Catholic ethos of solidarity with the marginalized, drawing from biblical teachings on welcoming the stranger. Winsky's efforts have not gone unnoticed. They have positioned him as a key figure in the national dialogue on immigration, often clashing with conservative elements within the church and beyond. The Florida bishop's appeal is part of a larger wave of criticism from the Catholic hierarchy. Last month, the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, issued a special message condemning President Trump's mass deportation agenda. The document decried the vilification of undocumented immigrants and expressed deep concern over the fear and anxiety generated by raids in communities. It also highlighted issues like the denial of pastoral care in detention centers, where access for clergy has been restricted. Notably, this message received endorsement from Pope Leo, who has made social justice a cornerstone of his papacy. In a statement last month, the pontiff urged humane treatment. I think we have to look for ways of treating people humanely, treating people with the dignity that they have. If people are in the United States illegally, there are ways to treat that. There are courts. There's a system of justice. Pope Leo has previously encouraged bishops to speak out on such issues and has even suggested that support for inhuman treatment of immigrants contradicts pro-life principles. This clash comes at a time when immigration remains a flashpoint in American politics. President Trump's second term has seen an escalation in deportations, with over 500,000 removals in 2025 alone, surpassing previous records. Supporters argue that these measures enhance national security and protect American jobs, while critics, including the bishops, point to the collateral damage on families and economies. Florida, with its large immigrant population and proximity to the southern border, is ground zero for these debates. Governor DeSantis, a Trump ally, has implemented state-level policies mirroring federal efforts, including increased cooperation with ICE, immigration and customs enforcement. Facilities like Alcatraz, built in the remote wetlands to deter escapes, have drawn international scrutiny for alleged overcrowding and poor conditions. Advocates for immigrants emphasize their economic role, particularly in Florida's agriculture and tourism sectors. A 2024 report from the Migration Policy Institute estimated that undocumented workers contribute billions in taxes and fill essential labor gaps. Yet, the administration's focus on criminal aliens often blurs lines, as minor infractions or administrative violations can lead to deportation. As Christmas approaches, the bishop's appeal serves as a reminder of the holiday's core message: peace, goodwill, and mercy. Whether the government heeds this call remains uncertain, but the statement has already sparked discussions in faith communities and beyond. Immigrant rights groups have praised the bishops for amplifying voices often drowned out in policy debates, while conservative commentators accuse them of overstepping into politics. In the end, Winsky's words encapsulate the plea, a request not for amnesty, but for a momentary breath of humanity. We have to rationalize it and humanize it, he urged. As families light candles and exchange gifts, the fate of thousands hangs in the balance, caught between enforcement imperatives and calls for grace. This ongoing story highlights the enduring role of faith leaders in shaping public discourse on immigration. With Pope Leo's backing and a new generation of bishops stepping forward, the Catholic Church's influence on this issue shows no signs of waning. For now, though, the White House's resolve suggests that the raids will continue, casting a shadow over what should be a season of